In many ways, 30 years is a lifetime.
For those of you who don't know, we are Bad Religion.
I can't believe it.
30 years should blow anybody's mind to do anything, whether it's, I mean, I'm sure if you have the same job at an office for 30 years, you get some sort of award.
And I don't want it.
To let you know how old we are, we were putting out records before cell phones existed. If you were punk back then, it was sort of, you identified each other, and then you could, you knew you were in some kind of a secret society.
Greg Graffin and myself had known each other a little bit from junior high school, and when we got into 10th grade at El Camino, I think kind of both of us showed up with dyed black hair and a Sharpie shirt that said Sex Pistols or Black Flag or whatever. Greg had run into Brett at a party. They had a mutual friend named Tom Clement.
My friend introduced us and said, Greg's a singer. In fact, I had never even held on to a microphone at that point.
He was a very studious, industrious young guy, and I was out of control.
Greg came back to school the next day and said, hey, we're going to start a band. I said, great, I have a guitar. You need to be the bass player. Okay.
In 1980, that was the period of time where televangelism was just coming into its own. Jerry Falwell and the Moral Majority was in the news, so we sort of picked that as our target.
I remember we all shook our heads when we thought Religion was the one, Bad Religion.
Of the 5 names that were the most likely, it was actually the least offensive.
And so we carelessly wrote songs about bad religion. Luckily, we chose a pretty good topic.
When How Could Hell Be Any Worse started getting reviewed in places like the Los Angeles Times, and we started getting fan letters to our P.O. box from Italy and Amsterdam, it was sort of mind-blowing.
And then we went into the studio to make an album called Into the Unknown, which commercially wasn't very successful, and a lot of the people that liked us didn't like us after that.
Did you ever see the concrete stairs of every day?
The weird thing about Suffer is there wasn't much of a scene for us to make a record for.
At that time, punk rock was over. And so we made that record, and it was transformative in the scene, but also for us as individuals.
A lot of people have cited Suffer as kind of the rebirth of punk in the late 80s.
Brett and Jay got into a little argument, and that's when he announced that he was quitting the band.
I quit the band right after writing the Stranger Than Fiction album.
Looking back, that was a really personally harrowing time.
And there was a lot of tension, and there was a lot of acrimony.
It was possible that the band was going to end.
When I got back in the group to do Process of Belief, I didn't know if I could write songs anymore. I literally hadn't sat down and tried to write a song in 5 years.
And then when he came back, it was like a rebirth of the band.
Not only was Brett's return a big thing for us, but that's also when we got Brooks in the band. And that also really gave us a spark. I've never heard drums hit that hard.
Since joining Bad Religion, I've grown immensely, not only as a musician, but, as a person too.
Anytime that you do something for 30 years, you're going to have ups and downs.
People often ask me to what I would attribute the band's longevity, and I attribute it to Greg.
I never abandoned the band because it was something that I thought was at least a half of who I was.
I've wandered off, I've quit the band, other members have come and gone. Greg never for once wavered. If it weren't for that, we wouldn't be here. I think the great story for me is that, when we first started out, we thought punk rock was going to live fast and die young, and far from that, punk rock has turned into the great progenitor of many different scenes.
I am no longer a peer of these people in the audience. A lot of them weren't born when Bad Religion started.
It's the idea that when your parents said it's just a phase, you'll grow out of it. We weren't wrong, Dad.
Thank you very much. See you tomorrow night in Frankfurt.
Yeah, I cannot believe it's been 30 years. Thank you guys. thank you for your commitment to music. BadReligion.com is where you can go if you want to catch up on where they're at now or where they're on the road. We'll take a break. When we come back, we've got some good music for you. We've got the Ravenettes, and we'll do that at the Music Box over at the Henry Fonda Theater right after this on Last Call.